What's good, y'all? My name is Cam J, and I went through Operation Reset. I was really struggling with a lot of depression and a lot of different things, but depression was the main thing. And I got to the point where I was ready to take my own life. And so one night I just decided like enough was enough. I really needed to reset. I really needed change. I really wanted to be free. And so I talked to my friend Aaron about this program called Operation Reset. He told me about Craig and Cindy. And he said that he had never experienced a freedom like this before. And so I was like, hey, bro, I don't care what it is or what it looks like. Like I need it. I need to experience this freedom. And so one Friday night, well, actually, I got to talk to Craig that whole week. He gave me a lot of homework. I don't like homework, but what I'm saying, I read through all the stuff I had to read through. He gave me some scriptures and stuff, so I had to tap in with it. And Friday night, I pulled up. I definitely had like a lot of misconception on what deliverance looked like. I thought it was just like you had to be like manifesting, and it had to be like demons popping out type stuff, like what you see on in Hollywood, like The Conjuring, different things like that. So I never thought that I could have spirits. I didn't know what that looked like, and so I really didn't know what I was walking into. But Cindy and Craig made the whole process super easy. They made me feel like I was at home. They made me feel like they've known me for years, and then they just walked me through this process of freedom. And I think the most beautiful thing was that they orchestrated everything, but I did the work, and it was dope because it made me realize like I had that power to call out things that were in my life that were what I felt like were deeply rooted, and I felt like were holding me bound. I could tell those things to leave, and they had to leave because I carry the same Holy Spirit that they carry. And so, man, I got here at like 6:30. I didn't leave until like 5 in the morning. The process was crazy, but it was incredible. And leaving, I just I felt like a whole new man. Like I think that I put this process up with the day that I got baptized because it was literally like an experience with God that I had never felt in my entire life. And it's something that I definitely would recommend to all of my people, not from a sense of just because Cindy and Craig are cool or anything, but it's like I didn't realize how many hidden things were in my life and how many spirits had really like began to lie to me and how I began to believe those lies. And so Operation Reset was something that really changed my thinking, it changed my perspective, but it also just changed the way that I live now. I have not had a depressed thought since that night. I haven't experienced any form of suicidal thoughts, any anxiety. I don't struggle with any form of rejection anymore. I'm more confident. I'm more excited to live life. I'm more excited about my future. I'm more excited about the path that God has me on. And I know that He's not done with me yet. I know that He's the author and the finisher of my faith, and He's still writing my story. Every day that I wake up is another day that I know that He has another chapter that He's writing. And I'm excited to live life. I was telling Aaron the day after, it was the first time that I was excited to wake up. That next day was the first day that I was like, man, like I'm really happy to be here and live life. And that was all because I chose to say yes. I chose to say yes to Jesus. And it really isn't about a program. It's not really about them making money off of this stuff. It really is about you saying yes to Jesus and the freedom that He has for you. The only thing they get out of it is the joy to see you walk in freedom. And so I definitely recommend this to anyone who is really struggling. Even if you don't think that you have things, man, we covered things and I got free from things I didn't even know were there. You never know the things that you start to hold on to or the things that you that begins to even hide in your own heart. And so, yeah, like if you want to see freedom, pull on up, come and see Cindy and Craig and say yes to Jesus and the freedom that He has for you. The most powerful moment of the night for me, we finally got finished with everything, and I just felt empty. Like I felt like just an empty space, like an empty canvas. And I remember I got this picture in my head. I'm still sitting in this living room, and I got this picture in my head of me being under this tree with Jesus, and Jesus was just talking to me. And I knew Cindy and Craig were still there, but in this moment, it was just like, it felt like it was just literally just me and Jesus. And I remember Jesus was just saying, like, are you ready to walk in everything that I have for you? And I was just like, yeah, like I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. And I remember I just kept hearing, like, I wish that I could show you a physical representation of how much I love you. And then he said, and a matter of fact. And when he said, and a matter of fact, Craig came over and he hugged me. And he said, I feel like Jesus wanted me to show you like a real representation of his love for you. And I just remember like I broke down because it was a real moment with God that I feel like he's always wanted to show me, but I've never had the freedom to really receive. And so receiving it in that moment when it was like there was nothing else but him, it really just broke me, and it really showed me like, man, like there's not only a freedom that I've never known, there really is a love that I had never really experienced. And so now I get to experience that love in its fullness. That just broke me, bro. Like I was crying. I'm 6'5", out here crying on this floor, bro, like going through it. But it was just like really realizing that like I had to be empty so that Jesus could fill me. And he had to fill me with the love that like I had never seen before. And it wasn't that I didn't know it existed. I just didn't think it existed for me. And so kind of having that moment to where Jesus was like, nah, you need to have a physical representation of how much I love you. I think that was out of everything that I experienced, seeing, spirits and feeling that stuff and feeling the freedom. I think that was the most powerful for me because it was intentional. Like God really wanted to show his intentionality with me to say like, no, this is how much I truly love you. And I think that really shifted a lot for me, not only within my perspective of deliverance, but also just my perspective of how God truly is and his heart for me. This sounds super cliche, but I think everybody should seek deliverance. I think that like it might sound like a cop-out answer, but it's not even just for you, but it's for your children and it's for your children's children. Like you don't realize that when you are breaking things, you're not just breaking things in your immediate life, but you're breaking generational curses. You're breaking things off of your family that have possibly been there for years, hundreds of years within your family lineage. And so I think it's important for every single person to go through deliverance, to just get rid of whatever it is. It could be something as huge as like you feeling rejection and maybe you're like me and you struggling with depression. It could be something like that you think is small, like maybe you just struggle with lying, or maybe you just are like, man, I feel out of place. Those are the little things that Satan can use to have a foothold in your life forever. And so whether it's something small, something huge, I think everybody should experience deliverance and what it will do for you, because it's all about freedom. And you don't want to have anything hold you back from what God has for you. Before I went through deliverance, I felt like my ability to hear from the Lord was clear, but I almost picture it like if you were in a tunnel and you have that little headlamp on, you can only really see with like 2 feet in front of you. But I think going through deliverance, I felt like it almost opened a new door to see things like actually clear. Like I had such a clouded vision, I didn't even realize it. But I think that just shows how powerful God is, that he can make himself clear to you even when you're in this place of like, you don't know what's going on, or you're in a place of bondage. Like he can still make himself clear to you. But when you walk in a freedom, like it's a whole new world of like, you can hear clear, you can see clear. And like, I don't know, there's no blockage. And it's not because God blocks, but I think that we will put these blocks up and not even realize it. And so I think it was just kind of one of those things where like, it went from like a 50% and it was amazing and it was crazy, but now it's like 100%. And now I can fully see everything. And so I think it just made it to where it was like way more clear for me. And so I'm super thankful for that. I think that deliverance affected my prayer life and reading where it made me more excited to do it. It made me more excited to really know God, because I felt like it was almost like a honeymoon phase all over again. And like I really just met God in a different way. And so now it's like, I need to know more. Like I want to talk to you more. I want to see more. And it's this, it's almost just like this, like when you taste and see that the Lord is good, it becomes addicting to where it's like, I always want to be in your presence. I want to go deeper into your presence. I want to know more about your word. I want to know more about your heart. And so I think it just took me to a deeper place, and it made me more excited, where sometimes like reading the Bible used to feel like homework. So where it's like, okay, I got to do this. I got to make sure that I check this off my list. But now it's like, no, like if I don't do it, it feels weird. It turns into this desire to really want the Lord more and to go deeper into his word and to know his heart more. So that I felt like God stripped a lot away, and he brought me a lot of freedom within like depression and just different things like that. But I think that he was revealing this lust thing. Like lust is something that has definitely been something that plagued the men in my family for years. And so I see that a lot. But I think something I said earlier that was really helpful for me is realizing that it's not Craig and Cindy who have the voice. Like if I struggle with lust or if I fall into something, I don't have to come back here to do this on a Friday night. I can declare I'm free. I don't struggle with that anymore. I don't have to do that. So I think lust is something that always tries to taunt me, but I know my voice, and I know the Father that goes before me. I know the Holy Spirit that I have access to. And so because of that, like when it pops up, I can tell it to leave, and it has to. It has no choice because it has no room to stay. And so I think it was actually super quiet when we first started. We were kind of like going through my story, and we're kind of going through family history and everything. It was super quiet. I wasn't really hearing anything. I didn't feel any like pushback or anything. And then we got into the breaking things and starting to speak things. And I remember when I'm trying to think what's the first one that we went through. I think it was something with, I think it was like sickness or something like that. And it wasn't something that plagued me or plagued our family a lot. Like you see it, but it wasn't anything that I felt like I was getting any pushback from it. So I wasn't hearing anything. But then when we started to talk about lust, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I heard, we're going to watch porn when you get home. And I remember Craig and Cindy said, like, if you hear anything, like repeat it. And I was like, I'm not about to repeat that, bro. I'm just not about to say that out loud. Like, that's crazy. And so like, that's when I started to realize, like, I wanted to tell myself that it wasn't real, but then it just kept getting louder. Like, this is not real. This is not going to work. This is not going to happen. And the whole time, like, I just felt like this, like tapping on my shoulder. And it was like this, like, we got a job to do. We're not leaving. And so from there, I was like, oh, this real. Oh, we in it. Like, we really here. And it's time to lock in, because you can't stay. Because this right here is just not it. And so it was different. It was like a super, super different experience. I think with each person, it's different. Like with my friend Brielle, it was a boost in confidence in who she was. Within Aaron, it's like a radical change. Like he was just like, oh, we need to go deliver demons tonight. Like we got to go everywhere. Like we got to go right now. And there was a moment where we're actually at the movie theater, and my friend Carlos went after me. Aaron went before me, and me, Aaron, and Carlos were all at the movies, and we actually ended up getting to pray. We were having a conversation with our friends about why they needed it. They got all types of spirit. We'll talk about that later. But we were having that conversation with them, and a couple of people that worked in the arcade that was downstairs from the movie theater were actually just sitting there, and they were listening to us. And they're like, man, it's super refreshing to hear young people talk about God. And so we were sitting there. Aaron saw something that he wanted to pray for. And then I looked and I saw something. And I was like, oh, yeah, they need prayer. And then Carlos looked and he was like, nah, yeah, they need prayer. So we ended up all getting to pray for them. And so it was just dope because it's my friend group. So before it was just, you gossip sometimes, you joke around, we boys, we roast each other. But like, it was like we became brothers in arms. Like we were literally like battling the kingdom of darkness together. And so I think that what I've seen and what I love is that we're all realizing how important this is. Like I think that before you go through something like this, you just don't recognize how serious it is and how real it is. And so it's not something you recognize. It's not something that bothers you. But after you experience freedom and you see people that have it and you see all the things that they carry, like it really does open your eyes to see the spirit realm in a different way. And you see stuff on people, you can feel their heaviness. And it's like, bro, I wish I could walk you through deliverance right now in front of this movie theater because I want you to experience the freedom that I have. And so I think that like the change that I've seen is just not only the freedom that we have, but the freedom that we want for others because we realize, man, Jesus really can do this because he did it for us. I think it was from a place of total freedom. And I think that when I was worshiping before, I don't know, it wasn't that I wasn't free, but I felt like I wasn't experiencing God the way that I could have. And I think that you don't realize that until you're in the moment of being totally free, and then you're in his presence and you're worshiping, and it feels different. And it's like when you try like a food that you've never experienced before for the first time. Like you didn't know it existed until you ate it, and now it's like, oh, where was this at my whole life? And so that's how worship felt in that moment where we're literally sitting there and we're just singing this song that's overplayed in churches now. But it's like, nah, it just feels different. It doesn't matter about the song. It's literally just his presence that's like full in the room. And you can feel the weight of the spirit. And it's different than the weight of the spirits that were holding me bound because this weight was just like, this is yours. This is your place to run. I felt like I could have been running. I could have been jumping. I could have been screaming. I could have been dancing. I could have done anything. But like, that's how being in the presence of God feels. There's no like boundaries. Like God is literally just like, this is yours. Like just worship. And so I think being in that place was definitely different than anything I've done. And then I led a worship night 2 weeks later, and like leading people into that presence felt different because now I know what it's like to be in his presence without restraints that I was choosing to hold on to. It wasn't that I was bound. I was free when I gave my life to Jesus, but I went back and I was holding chains, and then I was leading from that place. You can't lead from that place. You got to lead from a place of like freedom, in this place where your hands are out and you're saying, like I trust the God that gives, but I also trust the God that takes away. And he had to take some things away from me to experience like, okay, this is what it looks like to really worship me in spirit and in truth. Something that I really loved about being with Craig and Cindy was they made an environment that didn't make me feel as if I would regret sharing the information. And I feel like a lot of times, like you can kind of catch a vibe from people like, oh, these folks are weird, or I don't know if they really all together, or if they really are spiritually like all the way there. But I think just from the moment that I walked in to the moment that I walked out, I just felt like family. Like I felt like I've known them for years. I felt like they weren't gonna mishandle me or mishandle my information, or I really felt like they were led by the Holy Spirit. And it was just the atmosphere of being just in the room was just like, nah, the Lord is here. And so because of that, I don't go off of what other people say. Like my friend had went through it, Aaron had gone through it, and he told me like, oh yeah, they cool, like they cool people. But I like to like see stuff for myself and test the spirit for myself. And so the moment that I pulled up on the driveway and, Craig met me, he was like really cool. And then Cindy was really chill. I was like, okay, like I'm safe here. And so I think that was something that was really important for me, especially being a person that has struggled with, I love people, but I don't trust people. And so with that, like coming into a place where I don't know who you are, and I automatically feel like I can be safe here, it made it easy for me to be like, you know what, like I can be honest about some deep things, some dark things that I've had to walk through. And I think that just helped with the freedom process even more. Knowing that I'm safe here, it made it easy to open up. And it was like Satan couldn't lie and be like, oh, you might want to hide that. You might not want to say that, because they didn't make me feel ashamed for the things that I'd walked through, the things that I'd chosen, even the things that were my fault. The things that weren't my fault, they were very careful with. But the things that were my fault, they were even more careful with, to say there's grace for you, there's mercy for you. And I think that that's important with the freedom process, especially coming into a place you don't know these people, you don't know these folks, so they could be whatever. But I think that I would be a person that would say like, they took care of me. And if I could do it all over again, I would 100% do it again with them, even if not knowing them now. Like, obviously I know them and I love them, but like, if I didn't know them and I had to do it again, I would 100% do it again because I always felt welcome and safe. Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I'll say something that I'll say to encourage people that go through deliverance. Satan will try to tell you in the moment and afterward that what you experienced wasn't real. And it'll almost make you feel like you're lying. Like, literally, when I was telling someone my testimony about the moment where God was literally like, I want to show you a representation of how much I love you. And then Craig hugged me in real time. It literally felt like it wasn't true. But that's literally what it's like. It's so good. It feels like it's too good to be true. Like, how much God is intentional with you, how much he loves you. And so everything that you experience is real. It's raw. There's nothing doctored. They don't make money from this. I'm not making money from this. And so it's like literally like a thing where it was just like, man, like everything that I experienced was real. The spiritual realm is real. Like, these things that I was holding on to for years since I was a little kid, it's all was real. And the freedom that I'm walking in now is also real. It's not played up. It's not anything but real. And so I think that's another thing that you will have to battle through. And that's something that God will show you, and he'll teach you how to walk through it, because God had to show me and teach me how to really walk through it and realize, like, there's freedom and there's truth in this. And I get to live in my truth that I am free and that I am loved by God. And I don't have to go back to that place. I can continue to speak life over myself, and I can continue to see freedom until I pass and I go see Jesus again. And so I wanted to make sure I added that, because I was thinking about that the other day where I was like, this didn't feel real about that. Nah, this is real.
A lot of yes, that's good you say that, because many people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people who had like full-on meditations, like
people who have levitated.
Right, they're like, and I was like, weren't you in the room with us?
Nah, yeah. That moment, that tapping thing, that was real for me. And then also too, I would say like witchcraft, like when we were kind of going over that, I never realized, like, watching horror movies, I always thought that was entertainment, but there's no entertainment in fear. And that's literally what Satan was using as a lie, was like, you can be entertained by this, but he was really having a foothold. So when we're talking about witchcraft, I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm like,
Right.
bro, this is weird. Like, and I already felt somebody tapping on my shoulder talking about we gonna watch porn. So it was like, that don't feel real, but that's how real it is. Like, if I can get you to believe that that's a lie, then I got you. And it's just like, nah, like, you experience that just as much as you can experience freedom. And so I ain't watched a horror movie since, bro. Like, can't even do it. I can't even play like that no more. Like,
entertainment.
yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to add that. So.